Hello all, and welcome to tonight's beer review. As is patently obvious, I've more or less gotten over my cold, at least to the point where my sense of smell has returned. And boy, did I miss it. I'm still a little bit hoarse though, but it shouldn't affect the review so much. And I've already made sure of that by having a beer last night. And boy, do I have a good beer to review today. This is Ballast Grapefruit Sculpin. Now this is a special limited edition from Ballast Point, which is a San Diego brewer. Sculpin is basically their most well-known beer. It's an IPA, excuse me, and it's very high profile amongst West Coast drinkers and very well loved amongst IPA drinkers. Now, I've never been able to find it guaranteed fresh, or I was in a situation where I could have had it on draft, but you know, I didn't have the time, or it wasn't a good time for me to sit down and have a beer. So I've never actually had Sculpin as it should be. So when this limited edition came out and I saw it, I knew that it was one, fresh, and two, let's see here, I didn't even bother to check. Yeah, but they don't stamp dates on these, so you kind of have to watch, know your liquor store, know your dealer, know your supplier, and hope they're honest with you, or just pay attention to see when things appear on the shelves. This appeared on the shelf. I think it's less than 2 weeks old. Well, less than 2 weeks in Hawaii. It's probably about a month old. And so I'm going to try it. And looking at other reviews, they say, yeah, it's basically regular Sculpin with a twist, and that twist being the addition of grapefruit juice. Now, this is kind of funny because people would think, why would you add grapefruit juice to an IPA? IPAs already have a very strong grapefruit profile at times. And Sculpin is renowned for being very, very citrus and fruit forward as an IPA, as opposed to being a pine or skunk forward IPA. So when I drank this, oh my god, it was just unbelievable. I have to say it's really amazing. So I'm kind of jumping ahead here. So let me just start with saying this is 7.0 ABV. It doesn't drink like 7.0 at all. And it's fairly expensive, I have to say. I paid it was priced $18.99 for a 6-pack, which means in Hawaii I'm going to be paying almost $21. So it's probably pretty expensive on the mainland. Maybe about $15.99 or something like that. It's worth it, in my opinion. It's worth it, especially if you can get it fresh. Yeah. So enough yammering, and let's get on to the beer. You open it up and you can smell it as soon as you open it. And boy, what a smell it is. Fizzy yet thick white head. Very clear. It's a pale orange yellow. Wonderful smells coming out of this. You got citrus, you got all different kinds of tropical fruits. What's amazing with this is that, both in the nose and in the taste, there's a lot there, but it's all very distinct. You got some skunk, and you even got some of that, you even got some of the pine in there too. It smells very sweet, very juicy, very tropical. very light and refreshing on the palate. Doesn't feel like 7.0 at all. From start to finish, you get grapefruit. I don't mean a typical IPA sort of grapefruit. You also get a very strong taste of the sweeter side of grapefruit, the juicier side of grapefruit, rather than that sort of aromatic oil sense of citrus or grapefruit essence. I get guava, I get passion fruit. And a zing of ozone. And then there's that long, bitter finish. Not too bitter, not too underwhelming, but just enough to go and contrast with that sort of malt and juice body you got going on there. I kid you not, this is a 7.0, but you could knock it back like a chilada. It feels so drinkable. The only negative thing I have to say about this is, for some reason, head really dissipates quickly. I've never been able to get the head to stick around for too long on this. I don't know why. Maybe I'm pouring it too cold. Who knows? That said, even if that sort of olfactory, the olfactory end of it is kind of diminished, you know, more than makes up for it in the taste buds, and it's very effervescent in the mouth. So you're still getting some of that stuff in the nose anyway. There's just this wonderful ghost of sweetness, you know. Underneath that, it is just so reminiscent of eating a grapefruit, where you have that ghost of sweetness underneath that sort of bitter and tang. Now, as it warms, the sweetness kind of widens a bit, but it never overwhelms, you know, the IPA essence, that strong hop bitterness, or those wonderful aromatic hop notes. Those in this case very much focused on the citrus, very much focused on juice and rind. And then you got this added tropical fruit element to it. And you even got the pine. Pine's starting to show up now. I have to say that if you're going to go and make a sort of idealized IPA, Sculpin would definitely be it. I can't wait to try the original. I just heard that the original is like this special edition grapefruit with the body dialed up a little bit thicker and the grapefruit dialed a little bit back. This is a wonderful beer. That said, I wouldn't recommend this to someone who doesn't like IPAs. When I sit back and think about it objectively, it's pretty much on the hella bitter end of IPAs. is just balanced by all these wonderful aromatics, by a good body, excuse me, and all these other elements. Where was I going with that? So, Ballast Point, Grapefruit Sculpin. It's a limited edition. If you love IPAs, do yourself a favor, go out and get it. If you just got regular Sculpin, just get regular Sculpin. I'm going to go with everyone else and say it's probably pretty damn good. I can't wait to go and get a review to you of some Sculpin that I know is fresh. And I just like to end on a note, why am I hammering the fresh so much? Well, that's because the more aromatic parts, all this wonderful strong citrus nuances, these fruity nuances, skunk, and all the more effervescent, the more lighter things of a good IPA tend to decline after about 2 or 3 months, and you're just left with the bitterness, which can be overwhelming, especially if it's not a syrupy IPA, which has a thick malt body. So after about 2 or 3 months on the shelf, you're just left with a bitterness bomb, which is part of the reason why I think a lot of people end up not appreciating IPAs. People who are coming to beer for the first time, because they haven't had one that was fresh, and freshness is very important. Now, if you have an IPA and you're wondering, why is this bitter? This is super sweet. Well, you've had an IPA that's been sitting on the shelf for about a year, my friend, or 2 years, because after the more aromatic effects of the hop oils disintegrate or fall apart, well, the bitterness also gets eaten away by the alcohol content, and you're left with a kind of cloyingly sweet beer. So, if you end up with a beer like that, you probably shouldn't buy beer from that place again. Or at least buy beer with the caveat emptor. I know a lot of places that do store things on their shelves for ages, but are the only place where I can find certain kinds of whiskeys and whatnot. So use your best judgment there. So that's your review for tonight. Ballast Point, Grapefruit Sculpin. Go out and get it. That's your beer review, folks. Cheers.